banging bread on the wall in Ireland, celebrating the constellation of Matariki, and first footing in Scotland. This week, we're celebrating the new year all over the world.
Traveling the world to bring you delicious dishes, tasty beverages, and interesting experiences. This is the Destination Eat Drink Podcast on the Radio Misfits Podcast Network.
I'm Brent Peterson. Welcome to Destination Eat Drink, the travel podcast for foodies. Destination Eat Drink is for foodies who like to travel and travelers who love to eat. And this week, we are ringing in the new year with celebrations around the world. But first, take a moment to rate and review the podcast on your podcast app. That can be your New Year's gift to me. Your 5 stars help other foodie travelers just like you find the show, and thanks so much for that. Okay, 2026 is just around the corner. There's no stopping us now, and we're closing the pubs early in Ireland, throwing old furniture off the balcony in Naples, and adding Scotch whiskey to our trifle. And I'm starving, so let's eat.
Destination Eat Drink.
Grania Lawler is the founder of Flavor Trails, a food tour company that takes people to the best spots in Dublin and all around Ireland. She tells me about New Year's traditions on the Emerald Isle.
A lot of Scandinavian people here over New Year's, and they were asking me about it. And they were looking for, big parties and things like that. And absolutely, the major towns and cities, Dublin, Galway, Cork, will have parties out on the street, will have fireworks and that kind of thing. But for us, not unlike St. Patrick's Day, I think, for ordinary Irish people, where does it happen? In the pub, of course it does. It's very often we'll go out for a meal. You head to your local pub, or we call it, you're going down the local, where your friends and family are, and you're ringing in the new year. We are really not late night people, and people find that kind of surprising. We start early, we finish early. So, even on New Year's, people will be done and dusted by 2 and 3. I know in Europe, they go all night and there's really late night clubs and that kind of thing. But here, it's very much about the pub. Heading down, there's generally, party poppers, and it's very parochial in lots of ways, but in the best sense of the word. We're together, and that's the important thing. So yeah, go find a really good pub near your hotel or wherever you're staying, and bed in, and enjoy the antics.
Is there any traditional food that you have to eat on New Year's to ensure a year of good luck, good fortune? Because in a lot of countries there are.
Eating it, not so much. We do.
Your good luck is that you're born Irish. This
is it. Yeah, absolutely. No, there is a very old tradition that you bang bread on the walls, and that is supposed to stave off bad luck. Oh, good. So in Ireland, we tend to do things. There's no word for yes or no in the Irish language. So hence you never get straight answers out of Irish people. So things are not very often logical here. So instead of saying, oh, we're encouraging good luck, we'll say, no, we're staving off the bad luck, So yeah, you could do a bit of bread banging on the walls while you're here as well. We're very odd. You have to enjoy a bit of eccentricity when you come to Ireland.
This past year for New Year's, good friends of ours opened a new cocktail bar, and they had a party for New Year's Eve. And you talk about starting early and ending early. For us, we're like, oh, how are we going to make it all the way to midnight? It's like it's nearly impossible. But the Portuguese, they're like asking the people who own the bar, you're going to stay open later, aren't you? 2 a.m. 2 a.m. isn't nearly late enough for us.
Yeah.
And then New Year's Day, I got up relatively early and I was walking around our town, and of course the streets are empty, but there's a known club there, and the music was still thumping, and it was after sunrise. I was like, oh man, you guys are awesome, but I had to go and get some sleep, man, because it's just, it's impossible. I can't do it. I'm not 22 anymore. I'm, 3 times 22 or something.
We're definitely civilized in that sense here, in that we do finish quite early, especially in my age bracket. But I think the New Year's Day walk is massive here. Like you go out on New Year's Day, everyone's out walking. You know, we're lucky enough to have the largest inner city park in Europe in Dublin. So the Phoenix Park is full of people. Where I'm out in Kildare, Castletown, everyone has a dog, so everyone's out walking. So it's really a blow off the cobwebs kind of thing. It's also a big tradition to clean your house completely at New Year's.
Okay.
Now with sore heads, I don't know how well that's been done, but absolutely walking is a huge thing on New Year's Day.
Michela Malazzi is the creator and host of the award-winning TV show Bare Feet. The new season of Bare Feet is airing on PBS and the PBS app. Michela tells me about celebrating Maori New Year in New Zealand. Michela, I have this vivid memory of celebrating New Year's in New Zealand, and it was so much fun because, you know, I'm from Chicago and it ain't warm in Chicago at New Year's.
Yeah.
But here I am in Napier laying on the black sand beach in my shorts and t-shirt, fireworks going off over my head. It was so much fun. But you had a very different New Year's experience for New Zealand. Can you tell me about Maori New Year?
Yeah. So Maori New Year is Matariki. Matariki is based on the constellation of Pleiades. And it's a beautiful celebration that happens actually in the wintertime there, which is technically June, July here.
Okay.
Or it's in June, July. So it's summer here. But it is this beautiful celebration of reflecting on the past, being thankful for the present, and looking forward to the future. And what I've learned through the research while we were producing this episode, being there, is that Matariki is understanding the constellations. The Maori people have always been star people, right? They were mariners too, and so they were always looking to the stars. And historically, apparently Maori had like incredible vision so that they could see stars without extra like telescopes or anything.
Oh, fascinating.
And so they had this, yeah, so they had this really deep understanding of constellations and the stars and this interstellar beings that were Matariki, right? So you have these like gods and goddesses of the star, the Earth Mother and the Sky Father having these children that became the stars. And then there was this sort of like inter-family feud, and one of the sons ripped his eyes out and threw them out into the stars, and that became the constellation of Matariki.
Wow.
It's a very long story. It's a beautiful story. But Matariki is this very somber time in Maori culture. It's a beautiful time of celebration, but it's also this pretty somber time. Family come together, they sing. But the night of Matariki, the night that you look at the constellation where it's supposed to be the brightest, there's this dawn ceremony, and we were there for the dawn ceremony. And we had scheduled this whole trip based on Matariki, on going to this dawn ceremony, to the point where it was like the timing, because you have to time it right based on the constellation, and we got good weather, which was really hard. You know, we were very lucky. The stars had aligned for us. And when I say that, they really had. Everyone we met, they're like, Matariki's in your favor this year. Like Matariki's shining on you. But there's this dawn ceremony where we go, and there's this beautiful whole ceremony where they have a karakia. A karakia is where they do an incantation, and they're singing all the elders and the leaders of the iwi of the tribe. Then they have a hangi in the ground, which is their traditional. They cook underneath the ground with the hot stones.
Yes.
Cooking a traditional dish. And we show this whole process of like lifting up the steam that comes out when they open it, and that steam is to represent the connection between the interstellar world and nature and humans. And then they create this altar where they're feeding the gods. The top of the altar is for them to eat the food, and the bottom, as the segment keeps going, it gets brighter and brighter, right? Because it's dawn. We get there at like 5 a.m. But it's also a really reflective time where whoever has passed, whoever has died since the last rising of the Matariki from last year, you shout their name because they've been waiting to be released to the other side, to the other world.
Okay.
So that's when you hear people shouting their names. It's from everyone who has passed from the prior rising of the Matariki, last year's Matariki. And it's really powerful. Our guide, our Kaitiaki, Dane Tumahe, he had lost his son that year. So it was for us to be there with him and have him take us in as family. You meet Dane in both episodes. We meet with his father, Uncle Danny. He becomes our Uncle Danny. And we are crying, like sobbing by the end. Just giving fair warning to everyone watching these episodes. I get emotional in every episode pretty much. This is another level because we just felt such a strong connection. The whole crew, we became whānau. We became family with everybody. And going into it, they trusted us, but it was a level of trust that was very almost superficial. Not superficial, but very basic. And by the 10 days that we were there, that dawn ceremony was the last thing that we shot. We literally filmed that and had to go to the airport. And so that's why we were saying goodbye to everybody. We were saying goodbye to Dane, and that was genuine what he was saying to us, and us having this heartfelt love for each other, for the crew. If you watch the bloopers, like, I didn't want it to be too funny, but I wanted to show that real moment of like human, you can laugh in this moment of like, we're just trying to make a TV show, but you're allowed to cry and you're allowed to feel these like very beautiful emotions and feel overwhelmed with this beauty. We're watching the sunrise, in the bay, Okahu Bay in Aotearoa and Tamaki Makaurau in Auckland, New Zealand. So, and we shared this gorgeous ceremony with the community that had let us in, that we just met, 10 days before pretty much. So it's a very different New Year celebration.
Daniel Stables is an acclaimed travel writer who's written guides for DK Travel and Lonely Planet. His new book is called Fiesta, A Journey Through Festivity. He shares some New Year's tales from around the world.
That was at the time when there was a bedbug epidemic in Paris. Don't know if you remember that. And they, these blokes dressed as giant insects, and then half of them were dressed as French maids. And they were like
sweeping them
pushing them around, mopping them up. Yeah, and it was very surreal and very funny. And that just goes on all night, and it's just a big booze up, and it's great fun. But it's very much kind of one of a genre of festivals, which is kind of festivals. We think of New Year, New Year's Eve, and some fireworks and a few drinks, or whatever. But really, as a point in the calendar, whether it's January the 1st or whether it's kind of the end of winter, as it is in the case of Uphelliar, again, it's symbolic of some kind of renewal, rebirth, and I think that's why we mark festivals like that, really. But Uphelliar is certainly, if you want to start New Year in the classic way with a raging hangover, then I would recommend Uphelliar as the means to do it.
What about other New Year's festivals? I think you mentioned Naples in your book as a specifically entertaining New Year's place to be.
Yeah, I believe in Naples they throw old furniture and appliances off their balconies into the street. Don't know why, but again, it kind of it fits with the whole renewal thing, out with the old, in with the new. In Denmark, they throw crockery, plates, and mugs against their front doors, just for some reason, smash up loads of crockery. There's a lot. It's very, very diverse. New Year celebrations across the world. In Thailand, Songkran, they have this big giant water fight, particularly in Bangkok, but I think all around the country, which is also great fun if you happen to be there at that time of year. So it's a common thing. And again, I think that's probably symbolic of some kind of cleansing, ritual cleansing, using water. Water and fire both figure pretty prominently in these sorts of things.
You're in the southwest of England. How do you guys celebrate New Year's? Is it just champagne toast at midnight and maybe lighting off a few fireworks?
Pretty much, yeah, pretty much. There's nothing kind of uniquely West Country that I can think of for New Year. But yeah, that's pretty much, I mean, generally in England, it tends to be just, getting blind drunk and letting fireworks off the roof, that kind of thing.
Drinking and fireworks, two things
classic
that go well
combination.
together.
Exactly, yeah.
Nell Nelson is the founder of Edinburgh Food Safari. Nell tells me about celebrating New Year's in Scotland. What are the celebrations like, and are there any particular foods that we have to try on New Year's?
It's a very fun time. More and more of the, not just Edinburgh, but lots of cities put on kind of perhaps fireworks, or they put on performances, or you can go and sort of torchlight processions. Traditionally, the food you would have, New Year's Day would be a steak pie. So lots of butchers make their own steak pies and really good steak pies. Obviously, whiskey features. And we have a thing, which is more sort of pagan in New Year. So the tradition of first footing, as in when the bells go, you go around to your neighbors with, traditionally be a lump of coal. So you'd always have your fire, you'd always have something in your grate, and you bring them perhaps some shortbread or some whiskey. So it's sort of dying out a bit more because now people go to the pub and the pubs are open. But when I was younger, when I was growing up, the pubs all closed at 10 and people went home and went to celebrate at home and went around the neighbours. So in the smaller villages, you'll see people all out and about shouting Happy New Year, and they've got whiskey. They don't tend to bring coal. It's very hard to get coal now. But they bring so the idea of keeping you warm. So it's a really nice, I like to, in Scotland, the 2nd of January is a public holiday. So they're assuming that everyone's just going to have a good celebration to see the new year in. And also traditionally, you want to, a dark person should be the first person to cross your threshold. So my mother used to make my father go out the back door and he'd have to come in the front door to first footers.
The first footing. Yeah, I've heard that in other places too, the first footing. I had never heard that until I started doing this podcast and folks started talking about first footing. I was like, oh.
Who else does first footing? I think it was just Scottish. Who else does it?
I think so. As you were telling me this, Nell, I was trying to remember where else I heard it, and it might have been somewhere else in the UK or in Ireland. And I'll have to go look it up because I'm not certain where it was. Because I can't remember.
Right.
But fascinating. So Scotland is the originator of the first footing.
Well, I don't know. I only know because I grew up in first footing. I've never been. Where else have I been in? Well, no, I normally have New Year here, but I wouldn't know. There could be people all over the world first footing, but I know I definitely do in Scotland.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you about the toast at midnight because, in the U.S. and in a lot of other places, we would toast with champagne or sparkling wine of some kind, but you guys have whiskey there. Do we do a toast at midnight with whiskey or with champagne?
I suppose whiskey is the drink that we have. I can't be honest, people can do what they like. But you think whiskey would definitely be, for toasting. And if you went round to visit somebody, you'd be more likely to bring them a bottle of whiskey than a bottle of champagne. Yeah, I think you'd always want to. You'll see people queuing in supermarkets the day before, getting stocked up.
That kind of brings up a subject here. What is your favorite type of whiskey? Do you have a special whiskey that you want to get for occasions like New Year's or birthdays or anniversaries, special celebrations? Is there something, do you have a go-to?
Let me see. Well, to be perfectly honest, I'm Scottish. The one that's quite good, they always have quite good deals in supermarkets, whichever one's, I get a single malt if I was going to see anybody, but I get a single malt that might have a special deal on it.
So you're shopping the sales now.
Well, it's not a sale, but I might as well get a good single malt if it's reduced. So I keep my eyes open. Yes, I'm sure many people do. And I advise your listeners to do that as well. The supermarkets have very good deals. Better than, you could go to a specialist whiskey shop. If you can get very good single malts in the supermarket.
You'd fit in very well here in Portugal now because that's how the Portuguese do it. They go to the they go to the grocery store and get the Portuguese wines. And I remember when we first moved here, there were wines that were like €1.99 for a bottle of local wine, and I'd be like, how good could this be? But most of the time it's very drinkable, you know? I mean, occasionally you'll run across a bum bottle, but for the most part, you know, even the cheap wines are very, very tasty here in Portugal. And I have to imagine it would be the same in Scotland. You know, no one's going to be making bad whiskey, I would think.
Well, no, but they won't because they'll blend it. You know, there won't be. But the single malts, I mean, these are, you know, they're still prestigious from one supplier. So I mean, they're very good quality. They just perhaps have got slightly too many of one barrel and put a special price on them. So there's, you know, they're worth buying. So they'll all be good. Yeah,
it's just like wine. You know, you get your vintages, but then, you know, if it doesn't quite meet their standards, then they're going to blend it with some other grapes, and you're going to get a nice table wine, and it's the same idea. I never thought of
the blends. So the blends they're still good, but they'll all taste the same. But you'd probably, if you're going to someone's house or a present, you would buy them as single malts. So that's just from one distillery.
Yeah. So if you've got a special occasion, look for the single malt, and otherwise get a blend, and you'll still have a good time.
Or a single malt on offer. That's what I'm saying. So you get a lot on offer, so you can get away with it. So it's still really, they're all good. But also, you can put whiskey and trifle. You might not want to use such a good one.
Yes, whiskey and trifle. And
whiskey trifle. Yeah, look out for that.
Oh my God, sounds amazing. You know, I make tiramisu with a nice rum. I never thought about whiskey with trifle. I think I'm going to have to make that for New Year's Eve.
Yeah. Soak the sponges in whiskey and sherry, and you have it with then it's like Baileys and cream and custard and raspberries. Oh, it's delicious.
Okay, that's Nell Nelson from Edinburgh Food Safari. You can book a tour at edinburghfoodsafari.com. Granier Lawler at Flavor Trails just launched several new tours in Ireland. You can check those out at flavortrails.ie, and flavor is spelled FLAVOUR. That's flavortrails.ie. And the new season of Bare Feet is airing on PBS and the PBS app. You can learn more about Michaela and her show at travelbarefeet.com. And Daniel Stable's website is danielstables.co.uk. Get his book Fiesta wherever books are sold. Well, that's it for this week. Next week, we are in Galway, Estonia, Malta, and Chicago for unique whiskeys and liqueurs. Don't miss that. Until then, there's plenty of foodie travel to keep you satisfied at destinationeatdrink.com. My latest video is about the Christmas market in Lille, France. You can watch that by clicking on the video tab at destinationeatdrink.com or go to my YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/@destinationeatdrink946. I also reposted my story called How the Grinch Avoided Prison. I think you'll get a laugh if you read that one. It's at destinationeatdrink.com/blog. And I have a new foodie travel guide ebook. This latest one is to Puglia, with full travel guides to the Italian cities of Lecce, Monopoli, Trane, and one of my favorite foodie cities, Bari, plus much, much more. All that in one ebook for a special price at buymeacoffee.com/destinationeatdrink/extras. Destination Eat Drink is distributed by the Radio Misfits Podcast Network and Ed Silla. Thanks, Ed. I'm Brent Peterson, and I'll see you down the road.
Join us next week for another culinary adventure on Destination Eat Drink, a presentation of the Radio Misfits Podcast Network.